Hey, what's up, guys? Eric and Parker here from ROCKCAST. We have conversations with rock stars. You can check out rockcastshow.com for more info about us. You've been hearing us talk a little bit about MyPillow and the great products that they have. I know you're probably saying, Eric, what could conversations with rock stars and sleeping have in common? Well, we'll tell you.
There's nothing better than hitting a mattress with not just one layer, not two. We're talking 3 amazing layers of comfort. That's right, that's MyPillow. Now, let me tell you about it. The first layer is the MyPillow patented foam. Now, layer 2 has the transitional foam. And of course, finally, we come to layer 3, which could be the most important layer of all, and that is because the body temperature is regulated throughout the entire night from their phase change material.
Again, use promo code ROCKCAST or 800-646-5719. That's 800-646-5719 for up to 66% off. Isn't it time that you had a good night's sleep? Perfect. What's going on, guys? Eric Black here, Parker Miner, right over there, hanging out. Welcome to the show. This is ROCKCAST with Eric and Parker. Thanks for joining us. Listen, if you are simply just listening, you're missing out on half the show. You got to go to, if you're on Spotify, you already know the situation. We've got video on Spotify for some reason. Nope. Don't tell them. Don't tell them. They'll take it away. Don't tell them. Yes. You can subscribe, then get every single episode that we throw out. It's only 14 times a day, so it's pretty cool. It's not a big deal. Good luck with that as well. But go follow us all over the place because, quite frankly, we're lonely people. We're a very lonely people.
Yes, we are.
We just need hugs. That's really where it's at for us. Parker, how are you, buddy? You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good.
It's just another good ROCKCAST day, man. So we're set. This is going to be a good one.
It is going to. It's already a good one. And we know within the first 5 minutes of talking to the guest if it's going to be good or bad. And this is going to be a 4-hour conversation.
Yeah, maybe 5.
All right. So here's the thing. This guest on the show this week, this month, this time, a very cool dude. We first found out about him when we were in radio, Parker, whenever that was.
Probably that ago. Yeah.
Yeah, we got out. We escaped, and they haven't found us yet. He's another radio host. He's a show host. He does so many. He's got books out. We'll get into all of it. But I'm excited to hear about the stories that this dude is going to tell us because the amount of stories is rockstar status. The type of stories are going to be rockstar status. It's going to be a good show. We have Lou Brutus on the show from hardDrive and hardDriveXL. Lou, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing fine. I'm feeling good that, maybe the world is coming out of the pandemic era. Maybe we'll get some concerts before the world blows itself up. So the clock is fucking ticking. Let's have fun.
Can we have just a few and then blow it up? We just need a few. That's all we're asking for. That's it.
I made it to some shows last year. For example, I've been hosting Rockfest in Cadott, Wisconsin for a number of years. And the vibe at that was really, really good. The latest variation had just sort of been announced in July of last year, but everybody was pretty much vaxxed because everybody had to be vaxxed to be backstage and be on tours and all this kind of stuff. Yep. And the feeling was that we're out of this. So I'm seeing everybody for the first time in over a year and we're hugging and kissing and it's great to see you and it's all over. And then by the time I was on stage to host the Blue Ridge Rock Fest in September, everybody's locked down, like ants in fucking anthills all over the concert ground. So, it was a very different vibe between the two in just a couple of months. But I'm feeling pretty good that maybe at least that thing is behind us. And, I just wouldn't want to be a rock fan in Russia right now, right? Because everybody's canceling their tours as well. They should. And, I just hope for the best over there. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Now here's the thing. Now you're on the same side as we are as far as hosting shows. Your shows are exceptional. Our shows are, you're on the show. You see what's going on.
It's exceptional now that he's on the show.
I'm always shaky of any show that would have somebody like me on it, but I get what you're saying. Thanks.
As you should.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. But here's the thing. You've been doing radio for forever. I mean, hard drive is 25 years old now?
Yeah, 25 last 4th of July. And by the way, Eric, I realize this is your nice way of saying this guy's old. You know? but I've seen all the good bands.
I didn't say that though. I didn't say that. Just for the record, I don't need hate mail. He's not old.
No, and I don't feel old, actually.
He didn't say it. This is recorded. You can scrub back.
That's right. We'll scroll. No, man, that's awesome. And then hardDriveXL, that's 15? 14?
I think that's 15 years old. Yeah, I think we just hit the 15th anniversary of that. It's 4th of July weekend for the original weekend show, and that was 25 years last year. So, yeah, it's kind of weird to measure anything in your life in time increments that large.
Yeah.
But I'm happy for it. When I first started to host Hard Drive that summer, I remember my program director at the time, I was working for Rock 103.5 WRCX, great radio station in Chicago. And my program director, Dave Richards, Sergeant Hair Club, said, shows like this, they might last a year. And I'm like, so I'll do it for a year, no big deal. And, here we are still talking about it over a quarter of a century later,
Oh, man.
No wonder I'm deaf.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing too, is not only are you doing the radio stuff, but man, you do photography, you cover shows and events and doing all that stuff. Oh, you've been doing this for quite some time. I want to know some of the changes that you've seen over the years in the industry. And I'm talking about, from the bands to the shows, to the festivals. I mean, what are some of the things that you save this whole fiasco that's happening right now, but in a normal world, what would that, what are some of those things?
Well, I mean, probably the most noticeable thing to me at live events is the fact that there's not clouds of dope smoke everywhere like there used to be. In my memoir, Sonic Warrior, that came out a little under 2 years ago now, the opening chapter is on the first concert I went to, which was Black Sabbath and Ted Nugent, Madison Square Garden, New York, December 76.
We just had Nugent on the show.
I know. Yeah. I watched some of that. And he had such a great string of records. Not that more current stuff from him is bad, but he had a really incredible streak with those first epic albums, the Ted Nugent album, Free for All, which was his current album at that point, Cat Scratch Fever, Double Live Gonzo, great performances, shittiest live recordings you've ever heard in your life, but still a great record. And saw him many times through the years. But I remember being just sort of a snot-nosed kid, and my older sister had brought me to the show, walked into the garden, and there was literally a cloud of cheap dirt weed smoke. And you could barely see the other side of Madison Square Garden. It's not hyperbole. It's like you couldn't see the other side. So so there's sort of cosmetic changes like that. There's been some major things that have gone on through the years. The fact that bands can't really make any money on their music anymore.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's not only that. I think we're a couple of generations deep into music fans. I hate when people do that, but I'll do music fans who, if you bring up the idea of actually paying anything for any kind of music, they tell you to go fuck yourself. Which it's like, what kind of fan are you?
Yep.
And it came up fairly recently with, there were some folks who, some artists who pull their music off of Spotify. And I said, well, hey, if you can't get your favorite music on a particular service, maybe you try buying an album from the artist. Right. Fuck you! Why should I pay for music? And it's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
And the part and listen, I'm no Luddite. I understand how the technology works now, and it's certainly convenient. I use it too, but I also like physical things and products. And
me too.
I think that's something that's missing for a lot of folks now. I think half the reason why people like buying vinyl is the double albums. You can still fold them out and use them to clean the seeds out of your weed, And if somebody, when I was a kid, if somebody had an album like Yes Songs, some prog rock stuff, and it had a fold out, there were always seeds inside.
Lou, there's always something impersonable about going to a radio station and then you winning an album on air, and then they're like, here you go, here's a piece of paper that has your digital code on it. That's what we were getting into.
Man.
And then it was just, I couldn't do it. So it was like, we were trying, when we worked in radio, we were making sure we could get the physical albums, because there is something to that, you know?
Yeah. There, and even with, and I've got a lot of CDs. I didn't keep most of my vinyl. I used to have a lot more vinyl, but I being in radio for years, I moved so often for many years.
Yeah.
That packing that stuff up, literally it weighed thousands of pounds. And I didn't want to deal with that anymore. And again, I was never like a vinyl guy. Per se. I did keep all the autographed stuff and the sort of rarer promo things. So I've still got a nice chunk of vinyl, but most of it
heavier? What was heavier? Was your box of Playboy magazines heavier, or the vinyls? Which one?
Oh, the vinyl. The vinyl weighs more. The vinyl always weighs more. And let you know what a nerd I am. I always had more Mad magazines than I did Playboy magazines.
Okay, I can dig that.
So,
all right.
The usual gang of idiots.
Yeah.
Well, so you brought it up. You said that you have so much stuff. I've seen your posts on Instagram. I've seen all the memorabilia, but I've seen some of the stuff that you've been posting, man. You have an extensive collection of memorabilia from, I mean, just name a few people that you have.
Everybody.
That's what
I don't even know where to start. And just so folks know, I've attended more than, and I say music events, I don't say concerts. I say 3,000 live events, because, I've done live concert broadcasts with no audience, where I've hosted and done the interview things with the bands. And I've done lots of those things, or, other sorts of non-audience events that were in fact live music events. So I kind of count them all in the same pile. But from all of those things, I've kept everything related to them. Every ticket stub, sticky pass, laminate. I have a huge collection of posters, autographed guitars, stage outfits. But most of it is really, tickets, passes, guitar picks, set lists. I think, and again, like you referred to, I'm in the middle of trying to loosely organize everything for a book. I think if you count it just as individual pieces, it's probably 10 to 20,000 pieces. I don't know. I honestly don't know. The posters, I'm guessing, are 500 to 1,000. The guitar picks, which I have arranged, that was the first part I did. That's over 2,000 guitar picks, which sounds like a lot, but I've spoken to guitar pick collectors as I posted this stuff on social media, just in little dribs and drabs, and they're like, "Hey, really great collection, really cool stuff. Yeah, I've got 11,000 picks," and I'm like, "Oh man, Wow. But the thing is, those are people who only collect guitar picks. That's their thing. Whereas I just collect from everything that I sort of come in contact with. So,
right.
And then again, a lot of it is like, particularly the posters, they're covered in signatures. I've got Ozfest posters signed by every band on the tour that year, or, I probably thousands of autographed CDs, and and none of it's out in my house where it can be enjoyed. It's all locked up in storage units and stuff. So, but the idea this year is to get a handle on get it loosely organized, and then have my lit agent try and sell the idea of a book. What I would like to do is a coffee table book, and call it 3,000 concerts, the greatest collection of rock and roll shit ever assembled by a single human being.
Yes, that is,
and it'll just be all that stuff, probably by band. That was the first book I wanted to put out. And my lit guy said, well, that's going to be expensive because it's a large format book. It's pictures, so it's all color ink. It costs a lot more to do. Put out a memoir, maybe a follow-up to that, prove that you can sell books, and then, it'll be an easier time finding somebody to publish that. So
2 years later, it's coming.
Yeah. Man, because there's all the other stuff I got to do. So, I want to get the book out more than anything else I'm doing. But, it's just hard. It's hard work, and I'm lazy,
Well, I mean, there's a lot going on right now, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. There's a lot going on right now. But man, I think we're gonna kind of go back to the rock and roll situation because I just had a
Sure.
thought, which is it's rare, by the way. It's not because I wanted
That's
to
right.
change the subject.
It's lonely up there.
It is.
Yes, it is.
There's not a whole lot up here. That's why that's why we're doing radio.
Yes.
So when we're when and I almost
he's
lost
already
it now.
forgotten.
Oh, here we
He's already
go. I think I
forgotten.
lost it. Now I showboated. I showboated a little bit.
It's that cloud of weed from Madison Square Garden
That's
coming
right.
up on us.
I thought that was a fog machine.
Oh no,
That's not. All right, that's fair. Well, there's okay, so we've talked about shows, we've talked about memorabilia. Let's move a little bit to photography because that's how I started off in life. I'm not that great, but I do what I can. Moved over to videography, but and again, we're going to go back to Instagram because some of the photos that you've been posting, especially of the moon with the planes and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
So cool.
That's insane, dude. I'm looking at this and I'm just like that doesn't seem like it's supposed to happen, but
it happens actually all of the time if you're willing to do what I do and literally stare at the sun for 6 hours at a clip or stare at the moon through the course of a night.
Yeah.
If you wanted to do a share screen, I could punch up a couple of these pictures if you want.
Yep.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, here I'll explain the whole thing, and actually that is probably going to be my next book, and I'll explain the premise behind the book. But the pictures you're talking about, it's become sort of a hobby of mine, photographing planes as they fly across the surface of the moon or the sun, which sounds really weird when you say it out loud, but it looks very cool when it happens, and it actually happens all the time. If you're willing to stare at the sun for 6 to 8 hours a day, you will in fact see planes fly across. Now, this started for me during the last total eclipse, which would have been
18? No.
2017, I think. 2017. Well, yeah, 2018.
Yeah.
Regardless, I was down in South Carolina with my aunt and my uncle, and we found some place in the path of totality in a little town called Saluda, South Carolina, a little cemetery. So I set up my tripod and my big 300 2.8 lens and pointed it up. And first I had a solar filter on it. And then when it switched over to the total eclipse, I took the filter off and got the classic sort of dark star, ringed. And at the height of the eclipse, a plane flew across, a small plane at a couple thousand feet. And I got the pictures of it. And I sent the picture out to the wire services. And by the next morning, it had gone everywhere on the planet. It had been picked up by dozens of international news services and stuff. Yeah. And I wish I had that picture ready to show you, but I have a couple other examples of one of a picture on the sun and one on the moon. Let me punch up the sun picture first.
Yeah.
Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that is cool. Man.
Awesome. So
I haven't seen that one. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that one is one of the newer ones. That was a flight going from, I think from Florida up to Newark, New Jersey. And something had happened up at Newark, so they put all of the planes along the route into a holding pattern. So this one that was flying around the DC area in a circle, which is why he sort of curved. And he's coming back into the Newark flight path and gunning his engines. Wow. So the other one is this is another recent one. Do you have that okay?
Ooh,
wow.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to tell you the story of this picture. It's going to sound kind of unbelievable, but it's not. A couple of weeks ago, I was on a Zoom with a friend of mine. She's like a music management person. Her name is Sarah. And we had a session coming up with one of her artists the next day. She would normally be on it. And she said, "Oh, I won't be able to be on the call tomorrow. I have to fly to Paris." And I said, "Oh, poor Sarah has to go to Paris." And I said, "Man, you're in LA. That's got to be a really long flight." And she said, "Well, there's no directs. They break it up. So I have to fly into Dallas first." And she's seen these pictures of mine before and has expressed an interest. So I said, "Oh, I'll be sure to get a picture of your plane on the moon tomorrow night." And we both laughed, and that was that. So the next night, It's clear as a bell, and it's the snow moon. It's the February full moon, and I'm trying to get planes flying across it. And I see one coming up towards my area, and it's a Dallas flight going to Paris. And I'm thinking,
No way.
oh, it can't be her.
No way.
And so the plane gets closer. Now, normally planes on this flight path are either going to veer a little bit west of me or south. So I didn't think it would hit the moon, but I thought maybe I'll see it. I'll do a screen grab of it on the flight tracking app, and I'll send it to Sarah and see if it was her flight.
Wow.
Damn flight hits the moon. So I get that picture you're looking at. And I run into the house and I do some quick editing on it, and I email it to her, and I'm like, Sarah, remember yesterday I'm kidding about the picture. I said, are you on American Airlines flight 48 for out of Dallas to Paris? And she's like, holy shit, I'm on that plane right now. So anyway, that's the
so
story
cool.
of that, that's the story of that photo.
Dude, that is unbelievable.
Now the thing is, I started doing these about a year ago. I had thought about that eclipse picture I told you about, and started noticing some planes flying close to the moon. And so I started trying to get pictures, and then I thought, oh, I have the solar filter from the eclipse. So in all of my spare time, I've been trying to get these pictures, and I've gotten 100 to 200 of them, and I've put them together in a book, tentatively entitled Zen and the Art of Photographing Aircraft on the Sun and the Moon. And my lit agent, Bob DeForio Literature, is shopping it to publishers right now. So we'll see if somebody wants to publish a book of 100 or so of my best solar and lunar transit shots. So this is what I do. This is it's such a weird life for me. I'm either holed up in a studio, talking to myself, even though it's going out, over the country and all over Europe and Canada and stuff.
Yeah.
Or I'm at a concert chasing rock stars who are running on stage, or I'm standing out in the middle of a fucking field staring up at the sun trying to get planes to fly across it. That's all I do. Those are the three things.
What a random life.
My dog Darla, and I hang out with my dog Darla. So four things I have in life. That's what I do. So.
Wow. Well,
like a damn good life.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, it's good work if you can get it.
That's right. Yeah, you can get it. But man, the just, I don't know. That's just pretty cool that you can actually do that. And I know that, with a lot of equipment, a lot of know-how like you have, it's something that can be done. But man, it just intrigues me. I don't know why. I just intrigues me.
Well, photography. I mean, technically, those pictures they're not hard to take. You need a solar filter.
Yeah.
And it helps to have a camera that will shoot incredibly fast, because those shots I like to take at 1/8,000th of a second to freeze that plane in the contrail and stuff as much as you can. But other than that, it's really just patience and sitting around hoping for a plane to hit the sun or the moon. So
what are you shooting with? What's the camera?
I have a pair of Nikon D4S. They used to be the top of the line, which is the D6s now. And now they're bringing in mirrorless cameras now. I think probably my next camera will be, whatever the top of the line Nikon mirrorless is at that point. And then I'm going to have to replace everything has to be replaced from the ground up. So that's going to be, a couple of bucks, but it's worth it, because, the photography is what I do to stay sane. Right. And even when I have bands use my stuff, for example, there's a number of my pictures on the latest Cheap Trick record. I just let the bands use the pictures. I don't want to take money from bands that I play, even if it's, totally legit. I just, it's not, it just wouldn't be cool. And certainly there's lots of people who run around and they shill for different companies, and they, hey, drink this iced tea, and let me get a picture of it while we're doing our interview. Like, it's just kind of not cool. I don't know about the legality of it either, but
right.
So I just like taking the pictures. It's fun.
Yeah, man. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
Man, so I'm trying to dig through all these questions because I know we're limited, but man, there's so many things, so many stories that you can tell us about some of the artists. We're not looking for headlines. We're not looking for any of those things. Just cool stories that you can look back and say, man, I'm so glad that I got to know those people. What are a couple of those stories?
There's one, and I don't say it as a way of plugging my book, Sonic Warrior, My Life as a Rock and Roll Reprobate, Tales of Sex, Drugs, and Vomiting at Inopportune Moments. I would never dream of doing that. But there is a story in there, and it sort of gets to the heart of being a kid and always wanting to be on the radio and just didn't care about school, cared about rock and roll.
Yeah.
One of my favorite bands growing up was Kiss. My second concert was Kiss on the Rock and Roll Over tour. Sammy Hagar opened. It was one of the worst nights of Sammy's life. I'll tell you that story in a moment.
Yes.
It's funny now, and it's funny for Sammy, but it was a tough night for him. But
yeah.
Anyway, huge Kiss fan, and got to know the Kiss guys through the years, and I've done a lot of stuff with them. But it was during the Hot in the Shade tour years ago. The band was coming to Providence, Rhode Island, where I was working at the time. And, the hotline in the studio rings about a week before. And, the voice says, "Hello, this is Gene Simmons of Kiss. May I speak to Lou Brutus, please?" And Gene, it's Lou. What's up, man? "Well, you may not be aware, but Kiss is playing at the Providence Civic Center." And I'm like, "Yeah, Gene, it's kind of a big deal." So, what's up? He goes, "Well, you may be interested to know that we have a day off before the show in Providence, and I wanted to see if perhaps the night before, if you would like to hang out and do some guy stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah, that'd be great." So the night before the concert, I'm trying to think who was with us. Sharon Shafino, she worked at WHJY at the time.
Okay.
Chris Herman was another guy on the air there, great guy, he's still in radio. So the three of us, I get a limo for us, and we go over to the Biltmore in downtown Providence,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
and we meet Gene, and I think Andre was his bodyguard at the time, who worked for Gene for many, many years.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we get in the car, and I'm like, "What do you want to do?" And Gene said, "Well, are there any rock and roll bands? I'd like to check out some rock bands." And it was like a Monday night, I think. And Sharon said, "Well, there's really nothing going on, Gene, but there's local band night at the Living Room," and the Living Room, famous rock club in Providence. And he said, I'd like to check out some local bands. And I mean, local bands who are, it's like 50 bands are playing that night for 15 or 20-minute sets,
Yep.
So we go over there, and I'm walking like maybe 20 feet behind Gene, and, with the hair up, he's like, 6'10". He's kind of hard to miss. And he's wearing a body length black leather trench coat. And one of the things I remember most is we're walking on these cobblestones that were outside of the club.
Mm-hmm.
And Gene walks past a guy whose band has obviously just played, and he's loading his amp into the back of like a beat up, rusty old pickup truck. And Gene walks by, and the guy's like a kid. He looked like he was about 16 or 17. And his jaw drops, and then he drops his amp. And he turns to his friend and goes, "The fucking Gene Simmons just walked in." So we walk into the club, and Gene and Andre walk towards the stage. Chris, Sharon, and I, we walk to the bar, of course,
Of course, yes.
I order up a couple of shots of Jack Daniels, and Chris and I go to Coast, and I go, "We're out with Gene Simmons. It's the best night ever." And with that, Andre grabs us by the arm and goes, "Too many people, gotta go." And we look over, and Gene is like 40 people deep all around him. Everybody sees him walk in, they can't miss him. And literally the crowd just all around him.
Wow.
So we sort of very friendly extract him from that, and we get back in the car. And, say, "Gene, sorry about that." He said, "Oh, no, well, it happens all the time. I'm kind of famous." And we said, "Well, what do you want to do next?" And he said, "Well, I'd like to go bowling, but I don't want any pussy bowling. I want man's bowling." I'm like,
"Okay,
say that again." He's like, "I don't want pussy bowling. I want man's bowling." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And Sharon, sitting next to me, she was a lifelong Rhode Islander. She said, "Oh, wait, duck pin. You don't want duck pin bowling." He said, "Duck pins, pussy bowling. I want man's bowling, manly balls. I want man's balls." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." He doesn't want the little tiny, the balls are really big. So we end up at the Cranston Bowl in Cranston, Rhode Island, famous historic bowling lane. And the owner gives us a couple of lanes down at the end, and we bowl till after closing time. And Gene Simmons is the best bowler on the planet. Everything he throws is a strike, and he starts doing trick shots behind the back, 2 balls crisscrossing at once, blindfolded through like everything he's doing is a strike. Finally, I'm like, Gene, you're the best bowler I've ever seen. How'd you get so good? And he looked at me, he said, Lou, Paul and I have been on the road some 30 some odd years. We neither drink nor take drugs. There's nothing else to fucking do out here. And he said, I don't mean to brag, but I've also seen every major motion picture since 1972.
Oh my God.
And that's, you know, and it's kind of funny, but also think about it. Think about the years on the road, particularly those early years where Kiss was doing 175, 200 dates a year. That's brutal.
Yeah,
and a big sort of physical show. Think of all the time, you know, when you're on the road, you know, when people think about being on the road, they think, oh, I'll go to New York City and we'll party and it'll be great. No. But most of the time on the road, you're in Moline and you're in the Quad Cities, or, you know, you're in places that don't have like an all night sort of nightlife in them. Right. And your chances of entertainment are kind of limited. You are the entertainment that has come to the town.
That's right. Yeah.
So there's not a lot. So it was really kind of a telling moment. And I know Gene rubs some people from time to time the wrong way. Every time I've seen Gene Simmons with fans, particularly this night, he stopped and signed autographed until nobody wanted anything else signed. Wow. When he has the time, he is the nicest celebrity on the planet. If he does not have time, he will tell you, I'm sorry, I do not have time. And that's just it. He's very straightforward. And anyway, if my 14-year-old self who had seen the Rock and Roll Overture in 1977 could have transported himself to that night, he would have been very, very happy to be there. So,
oh my gosh, I can't.
Anyway, I mean, that's just one story. I mean, I can tell you more if you want.
I love it.
This is why we do the show, man. We love these stories, and especially if they're, you know, we're not looking for the headlines. We're not looking for any crap like that. We're just having just normal conversations that, you know, it's just fun.
When we started this show, we said one person that we know tells damn good stories we got to have on here at some point, and that's Lou Brutus.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
The day has come, because you're the king of stories, man.
Well, thank you, A, for those kind words, and thank you again for having me on. And you know, the thing with the stories that I tell on the air and the ones that made it into the book, and I've already outlined the second memoir, so I know what all the chapters and stories will be in it. There were a lot of other things I could have put in it. You know, I've been around rock bands for 40 years.
Yeah,
you see some things go on. But those weren't the kind of stories I wanted to tell, because I didn't want to make anybody, you know, miserable or unhappy or ruin their lives.
Right.
And maybe I could have sold more copies, but my book sold out. So, you know, it did fine with what it was. Yeah. You know, I just didn't want to be that guy who wrote that kind of a book. And again, I've seen enough stuff that's sort of funny and crazy that I could write several books and not have to resort to trashing anybody's life. It was funny because after the book was initially announced, I heard from a number of people who were like, hey man, congratulations, I heard you signed a book deal. I'm like, yeah, I'm really excited. The book's done, you know, we're ready for publishing. And they're like, so would there be a story in there like maybe this happened? And I'm like, no, that story's not in there. You know, don't worry, you're fine. That happened about half a dozen times.
Yeah, I bet a lot of people's buttholes puckered at that point in time.
Oh yeah. But again, you know, I think part of the reason why I get to do so much stuff is I know how to act. You know, and not flapping your jaws is one thing, but also there, you know, particularly when you travel, not just when you're backstage and around bands and doing stuff, but in particular, if you are allowed to sort of travel with them, you get a bunk on the bus or a seat on the plane, you know, there are rules of the road, there are do's and don'ts, and, you know, you don't want to be an asshole, you know, that's really what it comes down to. So,
And I think
that's all it really actually said on the 10 Commandments, the original 10 Commandments. Don't be an asshole, you know. Essentially what it was all about.
Take that to heart. It's true. Yeah. It's absolutely true.
Those are the 10 Commandments that you find in the Indiana Jones movies, I believe.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. The Indiana Jones ones. Well, Lou, it's no secret that you are a fan of Slipknot. You know, Corey Taylor.
Those bums, they'll never They'll never amount to anything.
Listen, all I'm saying is they're the best indie band this year. So we'll see how they do. But I'm just saying they're good now. This year is coming out in their first time ever, never before. Anyway, it's no secret. You're a big fan. They're a big fan of you. My question, sir, and this has been burning a hole in my heart. When are you going to get a mask?
Boy, I need one more than them with this face. No, that's for the band. We kid around, or have kidded, before that I'm the 10th knot, whatever that means.
Yes.
Listen, they were one of the bands that sort of renewed my faith in music and in rock music. It was particularly exciting, that first tour. That the first tour cycle, with the official debut release, the first record on Roadrunner, that tour cycle went for like 2 years, and I must have seen 30 or 40 of those shows. I've still got all the laminates and ticket stubs, and particularly from back then, I was really voraciously making sure I got all of the Slipknot posters I could.
Yeah.
And I mean, I must have 30, 40 posters from that era, a lot from like New Zealand, Australia, Japan, the US, Europe. The band would come back and I'd hit up their management people. I'm like, what kind of posters did you bring back? What can you get? Or, and I had, I think, all of them signed by all 9 members.
Wow.
And some of the, like, there's one poster in particular that came a little bit later, and I posted this online before if anybody wants to search for it on Facebook or Instagram or my Twitter. I think it was on the second tour, and they did the Jaeger music tour. Now, by then, they were already playing arenas and stadiums, but to sort of hype up the, the word on the new record, they played large clubs, small theaters, and it was just fucking bedlam. Anyway, one of these shows was at a now defunct club called Nation in Washington, D.C., and it was in a really nasty part of town. Like, you would walk out after a show on a Friday night and then hear pop, 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 pop from all the handguns and all the gang stuff going on. Anyway, Nationals baseball park is there now. But anyway, I walked into the gig that night, and in the lobby, there was like a big window with a poster in it. And it was a poster done for the show. And then I looked at it closely. It wasn't one sheet of paper. It was like 9 or 12 or something pieces of paper that were individual, like, puzzle pieces of the poster that were then taped together on the back to make one ginormous poster for the lobby. What? So as soon as the band started, I got some pictures. Then I ran to find the manager. I'm like, hey, Lou Brutus, nice to meet you. What's going to happen to that poster? Oh, normally I'll take it.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And I got it, and then had the all 9 guys sign it in Philadelphia like a day or 2 later. So, and that's a one of a kind poster. Most everything else is super rare, but cool. In the and again, this sort of gets back to the memorabilia we were talking about before, but out of all of the posters, I probably have the most of both Slipknot and Cheap Trick, who are 2 of my favorite bands. Wow. And again, all the Cheap Trick ones are pretty much signed by everybody, whether it was the when Bunny was in the band or of course Dax Nielsen on drums now. So, it's funny. I guess a couple of years ago now, I was down in Florida. I traveled a little bit with Cheap Trick at that point. They were doing a tour with ZZ Top, and I was going to hop on the road and do pictures for them. And just, they're friends of mine for a long time. I just like seeing them. They're all really good guys. Yeah. So anyway, I had a, usual stack of stuff, and the band signed it, and I'm putting it away. And it's just Rick Nielsen and I in the dressing room. And Rick, by the way, if you're not aware, if you think I'm a degenerate collector of things, Rick Nielsen has some sort of like something going on in his head.
Wow.
Rick collects all sorts of stuff. He loves civil defense stuff from the Cold War. When I give him gifts, that's usually what I give him. I try and find old civil defense stuff. Excuse me. In his Rick's Picks Museum show, he not only had all his music related stuff, they had collected. Now here's a guy who's been traveling professionally since the 1960s. Rick Nielsen has kept every boarding pass from every airline flight he has ever taken. Like there's something wrong with a man who would do that.
Wow.
But anyway, now here's a guy who understands collecting. So anyway, I'm like rolling up the set list and posters I had signed, and Rick looks at me, he goes, "What do you do with it all?" And I said, what do you mean? He said, "I collect all sorts of stuff. What do you do with it?" And I said, "Honestly, Rick, I'm going to put it in a poster rolls. It's going to go in a storage, and God knows if I'll ever see it again." And he just went, "Oh, I know just what you mean." You know, I think I'm sure there's some sort of psychological problem people like myself have with collecting stuff, but you know, maybe I'll end up on Hoarders or one of those shows one day.
Yeah.
But
I get it though, because I have in my closet just around the corner, I literally have old radio station posters, and I think it's the point of just knowing that you have it and it is there, and if you want to go back and look at it, cool. But there's some kind of peace of mind, like if you knew you didn't have something, it would bother you.
Yeah.
And that's
or you know, like if you know, Cheap Trick guitar picks I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of. For each tour, Rick might do, it looks like the same pick, but then you realize there's like 48 different variations of that pick. And of course I got to have them all because I'm sick in the head. But when I find like I've got 47 out of the 48, and I'm like, I've got to get them, and like I won't sleep for a week until I track down one of those picks and trade somebody for it or something. Actually, can I show you something really quick? Can I lean down here?
Yeah.
If you have picks.
Oh man.
Wow.
So notebooks, and then you can get, they're for coin collecting.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
And then you just, and they actually, I think these are 20 pocket pages. The 30 pocket pages fit pretty much most anything else, but there's all sorts of.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And these are alphabetical, and then grouped by band. And I've got 3 of those that are just stuffed and filled with picks.
I thought you were breaking out a book of Pogs. You remember those?
What? I'm sorry?
Remember Pogs?
No, I never had Pogs. No.
Oh man. But that is a lot of picks. That is so cool.
Well,
all I can remember, there's a line in The Simpsons: "Pogs are back," or "Alf is back and Pogs have got him." Something like
that. Yeah.
I think I was just thinking about this. That book would look very nice in the Lou Brutus Museum of Band Memorabilia.
You know, if I could just have one thing placed in the Hall of Fame, not that it has to be mine, but like, you know, some cool poster or something that I had signed or some sort of rarity, you know, that would be kind of a good feeling.
That would be.
That or a photo.
I mean, listen, I just want to get all this stuff organized and get it into a book. That's really what I want to do. So I want to find somebody to publish the Planes on the Sun and Moon book, and then through the course of this year, I'll at least loosely organize all the memorabilia stuff, write up a book proposal, and let my lit agent shop it, and we'll see. You know, I mean, I think there's enough people. The thing with publishers, they want you to really sort of narrow cast everything. So, you're going to do a book of memorabilia. Well, why don't you just do it on U2? Well, and I'm like, well, I've seen hundreds, maybe thousands of bands. I want them all represented here. So I think that might make it a bit harder for my understanding of the publishing world, but I don't care. I wanted to sort of story.
But I maybe it will, but still, I think it's worth definitely worth doing, because that's. The stuff there's going to be stuff that doesn't make it into the book just simply because of space, I'm sure.
There should be a book about that too.
Double feature.
What was that?
I said there should be a book about the stuff that doesn't make it into the book.
Well, we could do that on here.
We could do that on here. We absolutely could.
We could come on here for like 6 hours, and I could hold shit up in front of the camera. You know,
I'm good. We have time. I'm good. Yeah, we'll schedule that in. Look at that. By the way, this is another fine moment to bring up. If you're not actually watching the show, you're missing out. If you're just listening, you're missing out. We're getting shown stuff right now, and if you're not on the video side of things, you're just missing it. So
this is the shot of Pam, Tommy, and I in the tub.
Boy, wow! I didn't even. It was not cold that day. Woo!
It inspired the film. We later went out and cut a lot of glass with those.
They're glass cutting knives, you perverts. Stop it. That's just what they are.
Who is that hiding in the bush?
So, Lou, I've got one more. We got a game we're going to play, but I've got one more question for you. We have to talk about it. If we didn't, it would be weird, and I feel like it would be some sort of wrong. I'm talking about Darla the Wonder Dog. We got to bring her because she's famous. She might be more famous than you. No, I mean, no offense, but I'm just saying she might be more famous than you.
She deserves to be more famous than me. Darla the Wonder Dog is my Yorkie poo, and she's my best furry friend I've ever had. She really is one of my best friends. And I love her with all my heart and soul. And, she's the only one who sits outside with me as I get those crazy plane pictures. She sits outside and watches for kitties. Oh, yeah. And I sit outside and watch for planes. And she will sometimes sit for hours outside and just look up at me now and then like, oh, boy, Pop, this is great. Oh, boy, looking for cats and planes. That's my Darla voice, by the way. Oh, very, very rarely do people get to hear it. But
I didn't know you did impressions. It's awesome.
It's it's funny. I years ago when she was a pup, I found she was literally starving to death when I brought her home, and posted some pictures of her, just like, looking to fill the maw of social media. Mm-hmm. And people because she's so small and cute and very feisty, and you can see it in her eyes. So I started writing about our adventures together, and lots of artists started doing artwork of her, and we started getting fan art from around the world. And this is like, I'm not like really trying to do this stuff. Yeah, sort of happened. And then, later, I got together with the graphic artist I use the most, my old friend Alan McBain, and we've done 2 free Darla the Wonder Dog coloring books. The first is Yorkie Submarine, which we did for the 50th anniversary of Yellow Submarine, and there she battles the blue kitties. And cool. We did one last year that's sort of a mashup of the Mandalorian and WandaVision called the Darla Lorian. And again, you can go to my website, loubrutus.com. You can download them for free, and
that's cool.
Color the pictures of my dog as a space superhero, or the red dog witch, or whatever it is that floats your boat. So but her friendship has been especially good, and I understand there are millions of people around the world, maybe more, who probably have had their sanity saved by their pets the last couple of years with all the stress of what's going on and the lockdowns. And where I live with my family and I is actually a very nice place. We're down a peninsula. There's no through traffic. There's a lot of horse farms and turf farms. There's all sorts of wildlife. So if you're going to be stuck for 2 fucking years someplace, I've got a huge music and film collection. So, the only thing was, there's not a lot to go out and take pictures of. And that's how I stumbled into the plane pictures. So, my neighbors just, here comes crazy Lou talking to his dog and staring at the sun, that by the way, it's true.
Is it really? That's what they think.
Oh yeah. Awesome. Hey Lou, are you pointing your camera at the sun? Yeah, trying to get airplanes up there. Hey, that's great, dude. We'll see you. All right. Yeah. See you later.
You want a popsicle?
and by the way, I don't think they're worried that I talk to Darla. I think they're worried that I answer back for her in another. Darla, get away from that bush. No, wait, Pop, too many good smells. It's like after they hear that for the 1,000th time, I think they get a little leery of you.
Yeah. Oh, that is
lucky. I'm in rock and roll, so I'm the normalest guy I know.
Right? Yes, right? Absolutely. Yeah. And that is a good thing. That is amazing. All right. Now, remember, Lou, you said yes to this whole thing we're doing right now. We're going to play a game.
Yeah.
And
I've been preparing myself for this.
Good. It's called Would You Rather. Now, there are 3 questions. You can, obviously, you're going to answer all of them because that's how the game works. You don't want to be a loser. The catch is you can answer them, obviously.
There's always a catch. There's always a catch.
Every single time.
Every time.
I'm married to an attorney. I know. There's always a catch.
That's right.
You have to elaborate on said question and answer. You have to say, Yes or no.
Sounds like my internet connection might be crapping out any second now.
Of course it is. Of course. So
What was
that's the only. See what I did there? Did you see
Well
how that
done. That was really
good? Pretty
really
good, man. We're using that. All right, we're gonna do the first question right now because this is what time it is. Would you rather have to do your show in a high-pitched voice or a metal scream?
It would be easier to do it in a sort of high-pitched Monty Python voice as opposed to a metal voice, which would hurt a lot. The Cookie Monster thing,
Yeah.
and there are countless vocalists who can do that and not hurt their throats. I am not one of them. So I would probably have to go with the high-pitched accent. I'd add that sort of Cockney accent to it as well. Thank you very much.
Or you could do the Darla, the Wonder Dog voice the whole time.
Hiya, Pop. Hey.
That's perfect.
My Pop Lou Brutus couldn't make it. He's
But
out.
tell nobody.
My crazy Pop staring at airplanes, flying machines on the moon. He's gone plumb loco.
Oh,
That's the
man.
whole show, the entire show. How much do I need to pay? How much do I need to pay to make this work?
I get a sponsorship. I can at least read the sponsorship in the voice. By the way, a true story from the old rock and roll days of radio. There was a great production director I worked with for many years at WMMR in Philly, and he ended up there like 30 plus years. Steve Lushbaugh taught me how to edit tape. Fantastic guy. He was a DJ for many years at a legendary radio station, WMMS in Cleveland, back in like the early 1970s.
Mm-hmm.
So one night, he and his wife of the time are at a dinner, and he gets really drunk, and he realizes he's on the air that night at 10 o'clock, and there's no way he can talk. But drunk, he starts talking as Bob Dylan, and he does the best Bob Dylan impression you've ever heard. Hey, Steve, WMMS. So anyway, he figures that if he does the show as Bob Dylan drunk, he'll be able to talk. But if he tries to do it as himself, he'll never get through the show and he'll get fired. So he went on for 4 hours. He never claimed to be Bob Dylan. He just spoke in the voice, and people naturally assumed it was Bob Dylan. So they were, crowds of people outside the radio station, everything. So
that's crazy.
He also shows up on a famous Devo album. I think it's called the Mongoloid Years, where Devo is getting, they play the WMMS Halloween party before they had gotten signed. And they are so obnoxious, they get driven off the stage by the staff of the radio station and the fans. And you can hear Steve like yelling from off stage. I played it for him. He's like, "That's me on there." So,
that's awesome.
And the Devo guys were impressed that I knew somebody who was at that show. So there you go.
Wow.
Anyway, okay, next question. I'm ready.
That's good.
Parker, take it, buddy.
All right. Hey, I get a good question. This is good. All right, Lou. Would you rather always have the urge to pee or have to always wear a diaper?
Oh, I'd rather wear a diaper, because having the urge to pee all the time is one of the worst things in the world. Man,
Yes,
I agree. That's a no-brainer.
Yep.
You're asking me essentially, would you rather be unable to pee, or would you rather be able to pee when you need? That's the simplest question you've probably asked in the history of this game and this program.
there it is, folks. Oh,
there it is.
I just want to
answer that question.
I just want to wear a diaper. That's all I want to do. Last
Guys
question.
in New York paying big money for that. Okay.
Would you rather be the person who flips the switch during executions or be the judge who decides who should be executed?
Ooh, that's no fun.
Nope.
Do I get to wear a diaper in either one of those? No.
That is your personal choice.
you can.
Okay. Boy, I don't know. I suppose I'd rather be a judge. I don't know that I'd ever want to kill anybody, even if
No.
they deserved it.
Yeah.
It would depend, I suppose, but maybe if they had done wrong to me or mine. But other than that, I don't think I'd like to kill anybody. But, a judge, with those robes on, diaper, no diaper, who's gonna know? You know.
And judges sit for a while, man. You may have to use that diaper.
I once performed in a band called the Angry Young Judges.
Oh,
there you go.
Well,
I have in fact worn judges' robes.
Oh,
and a big powdered wig. Honestly, no, I should explain this now very quickly. There's a great long-running band in Philadelphia called Baru Review, very theatrical, and they have like a second band that they perform as. Sometimes they open for themselves. Other times in the middle of the set, they walk out in judges' robes and powdered wigs and perform as the Angry Young Judges. And if they like you or your friends, with the group, they will sometimes invite you, give you the great honor of being an honorary judge. And they give you a guitar, not plugged in, and you get to go out, perform with them, and do their big hit, Get Me High, I Wanna Die. And it's a great fucking song, and they're a great band. So, so anyway, that's as I've come to it.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome. I dig that. That's pretty cool.
Guys, I could do this shit all night.
Yeah.
Well, that just simply means we got to have you back on. That's all that means. So, but man, that's all we got tonight, man. We appreciate you being on the show. You can go find Lou at loubrutus.com. Are the hard drive links over there, or are those separate links?
You know, you can go to hardDrive for the show links, and it's at hardDrive Radio and all the social nets for the radio program. And for me, myself, it's Lou Brutus Rocks on Facebook, at Lou Brutus on Twitter and Instagram. And the book you can get where books are sold, you know, Amazon or Barnes and Noble, or, you know, if you get it through your local bookstore, if you can, support a local independent bookstore if you can, because it's like supporting record. You know, if you're lucky enough to still have one in town, you better go buy some shit else. It ain't going to be there much longer. You know?
That's right. That's absolutely right. All right, Lou, we appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us, young kids, and enlighten us and give us some stories. It was awesome. We appreciate that. Guys, if you want to know more about Rockcast, rockcastshow.com. And again, if you're only listening and you're not watching, shame on you. Just shame on you. Spotify has both. You can watch and listen. It's that simple. Just make it work. rockcastshow.com. All right, guys, we'll see you again next week, next time. I don't know, whenever it is we're back on. I'm not even aware of that right now. It's just too good of a show. I don't care.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time. Bye.